Hi guys, this is Pestily and welcome to another Scav from Tarkov video. In this video, I'm going to cover the Devblog number 6 from the Russian podcast. It was translated by both Sneaky Russian 007 and Richard Nixon. Both of these people did an amazing job at translating it. I did listen to Sneaky Russian 007 as I've used him in the past, his translations, but I also cross-checked some information on Richard Nixon's to make sure it all matched up. Because I was a little bit confused about some of the points, and I just wanted to make sure, particularly some of the more controversial points, that they were all rigid-dig. Anyway, so guys, without further ado, let's crack straight into it. So the podcast had Nikita, the COO of Battlestate Games, as well as Aimlo, Cake, Honeymad, and Flashco, all Russian streamers, and you can check them out. I'll put a link to all their content below. They covered so many points, and I'm just going to go pretty much in order. I made little subheadings, and as the subheadings came up multiple times, I'd put other points back to it. So we'll start off with some of the fixes. So they are actually working on that healing bug. It's been around forever. What actually happens is you start healing, and it looks like everything's gone sweet, but it just continually goes on forever. And then you can't heal. You can't pop a painkiller. You can't do a med, fix a limb, nothing. So that's on their highest priority list at the moment, trying to fix that healing bug. They're constantly working on stutters, freezes, and crashes. This is something that there's always working on. They always return from different ways, and something they're working on. And then there is a audible click that you can hear after you shoot an ADAR. Anyone shoots it, you can hear it from the distance as well. It doesn't have to be yourself shooting it. This has been really annoying. It's why I don't use an ADAR, and because of that, they're trying to fix it currently. So that's on their to-do list. Now, there were comments made about ping, reshade, and NVIDIA freestyle. Ping, so the way they're doing it is they've now changed the way that you could bypass one of the ping locks. And now you shouldn't be able to join a server from your launcher or any server. But you still will see people from different regions playing on different regions. And my assumption to that will be the fact that if I was, say, wanting to play with Deadly Slob would invite me, and I would get put onto whatever servers that Deadly Slob is working on or playing on. So that is, it's still going to be a fact. I don't know if they're going to try and put forced locks. If your ping goes too high, that's going to be taken out, but I'll leave that there. When it comes to Reshade and NVIDIA, there's going to be filters within Battleye that will stop people from using Reshade or NVIDIA if they got certain filters activated. Now, we already know that newer versions of Reshade are straight out banned and you can't use them. And if you try to launch the game, it won't launch. But even the older versions, if you activate certain filters, Battleye will stop you and you won't be able to run the game. So I think eventually it will go to the point where Reshade isn't working at all. Same with NVIDIA's freestyle. There's going to be stuff that will get to the point where they're not going to have that at all. There was talk, Nikita said, there are adding tools to the game, including sharpness, saturation, and brightness and contrast. So that way you can adjust those things in game. So if you want that little bit extra brightness, you can do it inside game, and you won't need to use these third-party applications to do that. For the guys that like the really bright, colorful meta, saturation will be the one that will make it a little bit more greener and brighter and popping out for you guys. Nikita says he doesn't like it super colorful. It's not how it's meant to be intended to be played. And so he doesn't want that in the game. Moving on to stream snipers, there was a considerable amount of talk about stream snipers. They're going to make it so you can actually actively change servers from within the game. So you'll be able to select, as you go to play on a map, you'll be able to pick which server you want to go on. So, for example, if you were on California 1, or you could access, say, the West Coast of America, you could pick between, say, California 1 and 2 and switch between them from inside the game, not have to go back to the launcher. This is going to make it easier so streamers can continually change servers, which is not a big point to a lot of people, but it might come in handy for if someone's having issues with large matching times. They won't need to rejoin the game. They're also going to make it so you can hide the raid code down the bottom left, so people won't be able to find your game as quickly. And when it comes over to hatchlings, you've probably heard some of the points coming out about this one. They're going to randomize the loot more and more. It's already really cool what they've been doing. They've been adding keys to jackets and spreading out a lot of that valuable loot throughout the maps. It's really cool how they're going down that path. Playing as a hatchling is a viable way of play style, and he understands that it's just a thing that people will want to do anyway, but it should be limited and not removed. So he's not saying that there should be no hatchlings at all, but it shouldn't be a go-to that people use all the time. It should be like, hey, I might just do a hatchet run for a bit of fun, instead of just being constantly like, I'm going to run hatchet runs today. There was jokes about some sort of karma system. If you were to hatchet run a lot, that you would have to redeem yourself. and it will come up later, but they were talking about the arena. And so this part came back from the arena where they actually said that you could have like a hatchet death match in the arena, and you could bet on the hatchlings to who's going to win. And if they redeem themselves, then they'd be able to play the game normally. But that was all banter. But it's cool that they're actually joking more about the arena and bringing the arena into the game, because it's going to be a really important part. And I'll talk about that more in the future. Now, they did talk about the containers and items being locked out of them and that, but this is pretty much word for word from the translation from Richard Nixon. He goes, "We are thinking about doing a weak test of barter items not being able to be put into containers and not being able to sell trader items on the flea market. But there isn't any strict decision on this now, and we are just thinking about it." So for everyone who's freaking out this barter trade items not being able to get and put in containers, just chill. Seriously. It's just one of those things that they're thinking about it. They might test it, but it's not something that's happening anytime soon, and it's not something you guys got to stress about. Just chill. Seriously, I can't believe how much people are getting worked up about this right now. There was a massive discussion about fuel cans. Nikita called it a dupe, which it's kind of a dupe, I guess. But if you go into a raid at the moment and you've got a fuel can that's empty on you, you instantly get it refilled. If you've got it in your container, you can extract or disconnect, and you can flip it on the flea market for a bit more money. Now, it's such a minor thing that, in my opinion, it wouldn't really net you that much money. But you know, that's one of the things that Nikita's not really happy about, and they are going to be fixing this. If they feel like someone's been doing an excessive amount, there was discussion that he'll wipe your account, but honestly, I doubt that. I don't know how they could actually figure that out that easily. Anyway, so there was a bit of a joke about that. I don't know if that will actually happen, but he does consider it a form of abuse and exploiting the game. So it's not meant to be happening, and they're going to be fixing it. Moving over to ninja changes. So he said trying to keep loot randomized so people don't have all the info straight away and they get to discover it themselves. So making it so the game's a bit more dynamic and things are just happening. So like, for example, the keys in jackets and stuff like that. All these kind of like discoveries are what's trying to keep the game a bit more fresh. And he wants to continue to do this throughout the duration of the game's existence. So then that way people are consistently like having new things to discover, and it's not just, I'll go to this place for this item. Now the discussion or the question of loot boxes came up. Now there's some points here that I think have been covered multiple times in over the existence of Tarkov, particularly since I've been covering it. But I guess there's a lot of people that are new to the game, and that's why these questions would come up. Loot boxes, Nikita says in Europe it's illegal and he doesn't want to have them in the game. It's a form of gambling and he dislikes it due to its principle. He doesn't want it to be a kind of thing where companies are trying to just exploit every person for every single dollar they can get out of them. It does come up a bit later, but for Edge of Darkness, for example, he sees that as if someone wants to get Edge of Darkness, it's more to support the development of the game and not for some sort of advantage. And they are going to be blending those versions of the game a little bit more, and it's going to be changing up a little bit. So I really like the fact that microtransactions and that kind of stuff for Battlestate Games is something they don't really like, and they're sticking to their principles on it. Which I'm trying to keep my opinions out of this as much as possible, but at least for the fact that we know that they're definitely not going down a pay-to-win path. They've always said that Edge of Darkness is more of pay for a head start, but once the game goes live and there's no more wipes, game will pretty much at some point be equal when you've got a standard account or Edge of Darkness. So it's not going to be like, you're going to have to wait 6 months to be able to get to the same point, but it'll be like, you can actually get access to the same stuff, and it's not going to be that crazy, oh my god, this guy paid $100 extra and now gets to win the game every time over me. Now there was slight discussion about the Tarkov Buddy app. Now I don't think he was referring to Veritas's app at this point. I think he was talking about actually like Battlestate Games creating their own app. But he wants to make it so it's actually connected to the game, and you'll be able to claim insurances, mess about with your inventory, moving stuff around and sorting it, putting stuff up from the flea market for sale. But this is not going to be something that's going to be out very soon. They do have someone who can develop it and is going to be working on it, but it's something that's not going to come soon. Now there's fairly in-depth discussion about passive skills, mostly just on Nikita's behalf, and he says they're looking into how to adjust the passive skills leveling and defining which is abuse and which is power leveling. So the feeling I got from the translations on this was Nikita kind of says that it's okay to deliberately try and level up a skill, but it shouldn't be in the fact that you're going to be power leveling it so fast that you're trying to get it to max super quick, and then that way you've got an advantage over people in that way. It's kind of like you can level it up a little bit, but you shouldn't be doing it just bam, overnight you've got max level. So in other words, he says he doesn't want people just going to sit in fires to level up stuff. And now there's going to be new passive skill tasks coming, and that way people will be able to either level up their passive skills through tasks, or there's going to be more tasks required that require passive skills. I think it's more the earlier than the latter. But I like tasks, so we'll see how that goes. And he said from the very beginning of Escape from Tarkov, the passive skills were meant to be leveled over years, not days, weeks, or months. So, for example, the perfect example is mag drills, right? I think last wipe I played a stupid amount, and my mag drills got to like level 8 or 9. So that is the example of like a skill that's taking ages to level up. Now, I don't think they're all going to be like that. Some will level up faster, but he's trying to emphasize the fact that you shouldn't be trying to have all your passive skills maxed out super quick. And he made jokes about how there's companies out there trying to sell like guides and stuff on how to level up your passives really quickly and stuff like that, which he thought was quite funny, particularly when the fact that the game wipes every now and then. The discussion of traders, now he said that they're going to add a level 5 and level 6, and level 6 will have some bonuses for you. He also did say there's going to be some sort of karma system, or also some sort of reputation system, that if you were to have an issue with a trader, that you wouldn't have access to certain things. So this is all pretty cool. The discussion of campers came up with the fact that there's a lot of new players to the game, and they're trying to figure out how to play the game and all that stuff, and they're finding it a lot easier to camp. It is something that doesn't really bother me at all, but I'm sure it does piss some people off. And Nikita said they're going to look at really high friction points and potentially remove some of those spots from the game. So, for example, the tunnel extract on Shoreline, and you can sit up on top of the rocks over there and see people coming from ages away. You're going to look at maybe even potentially removing some of these spots where you can just oversee someone coming to the extract and wait there all afternoon to try and kill people as they're coming. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with there. I don't honestly think there's going to be much changes in that. I think it's just going to be a fact of the game. Now, the big discussion about the arena came out. He said there's going to be lots of different modes, and it's going to be including 1v1, 2v2, 5v5, and they're just going to have lots of fun different ways that it's going to happen. I don't think this is going to be out anytime soon. It was more just like the early talks about it. They have brought the arena up a few times in the past. This is going to be the best thing when it comes to competitive gameplay. So, a lot of people out there is like, who's the best Tarkov player at the moment and all that kind of stuff. This will actually sort that shit out. So the guys that really are sweaty at the game and always want to have the most amount of kills or whatever, this is where they'll be able to battle it out, and it can go full esports ready and all that cool stuff that you guys love. So the coolest part about it that Nikita actually said was you should be able to watch arena mode fights on your TV in your hideout. Now, that'd be pretty sick. I'd actually just like to see a arena mode TV where I legit could just watch it like Twitch and just be like, oh, let's see who's fighting on arena right now, and just be able to watch games. I think that'd be sick. Even if they could just run it off the Battlestate Games TV, the Battlestate Games Twitch channel, just have 24/7 arena fights. That'd be so sick. Anyway, this is me just going on my tangents. Anyway, now the game will be available on Steam eventually after patch 1.0, but he wants to have it released through their own sales first. And then he's discussing putting it on Steam and also other ones like Epic Games and Humble Bundle as well. My feeling is probably it'll go Steam and not Epic Games, or it'll go Epic Games and not Steam, but we'll have to wait and see with that. I think most of those companies don't like it going over multiple. Now, covering game additions, Edge of Darkness has been about supporting the devs and the development of the game, and he wants to blend the additions into each other so they're not so night and day with what actually is the difference between each of them. So, for example, it might be extra bonuses for standard edition, or, and it won't be so drastic as you get the max level stash space or the gamma container. There might be some changes happening within them to make them a little bit more balanced out, I think. I don't know what they're going to mean by this and how it's all going to work out, but we'll just have to wait and see. But the major selling point of Edge of Darkness is the DLC. Now, there was a fairly in-depth discussion about the late spawns. The best way I can explain it is what they're thinking about doing is a full rework of the matchmaking system. So what happens is a window opens up, and a window of opportunity to join a raid opens up, and the people will be able to join. And then once a certain amount of people have joined, or the time lapse is over, the window will close and no one else will be able to join the raid. And then what will happen is the timing, like everyone will load into the raid at the same time. Once every single person has loaded into the raid, then it'll deploy everyone. The issue with this is you're going to be limited by the whoever has the slowest PC. I'm sure some of you guys would have played games like League of Legends or any of those kind of games where you're sitting there waiting for that guy with a toaster PC. That's what Nikita referred to it as, the guy with the toaster PC that's just taking forever to load. You're going to be waiting for that person to be able to deploy into the raid. However, everyone will then deploy at the same time. I don't know if this is the answer. In a perfect world, everyone would have a good PC and there wouldn't be any issue. But the loading time for this game is actually quite severe sometimes. I feel like, maybe there might need to be some sort of massage room, like at 5 minutes, you're deploying anyway. And if that guy with the toaster, he might have to take 7 minutes and he will get the late spawn, but at least the majority of the player base will spawn at the right time. This isn't something that they're definitely going to go down the path of, but they're definitely doing some sort of study into how it's going to work, and they're testing out if it's something they want to do. Now, the Interchange Scav bug came up as a point where, at the moment, on Interchange, sometimes Scavs will just spawn faster and faster and kind of get overwhelmed by them. It's like an unlimited Scav spawn. I've seen people kill 50 plus Scavs on Interchange, and when it happens, it's good when you're ready for it or you want it to happen. It's bad when you're just trying to get out of the area. Now, he said that this is actually something pretty cool because it does give you that fear factor of all these Scavs coming for you. But he's actually said that he might implement something like that on other maps where you'll just get overwhelmed if you stick to an area too long and the Scavs just start overwhelming you. So I think it's an interesting concept. I'll have to wait and see with that one. Now, raid timers for Interchange has been gone from 50 to 55 minutes, and same with Reserve, 5 extra minutes on both of those maps. Now, they did discuss the replay system and if it was possible. Post-raid, it's possible where you could actually see what happens after your death. But immediately after, it's not going to be possible. So what they're trying to say is you might have to be able to wait a bit of time and then be able to download the actual end of the raid, but not immediately after you died, because obvious reasons. The issue would be that you could say, hey, this guy's wearing this and he was shot me from here if you're in a squad. They are going to implement more post-raid reporting information, like a heat map showing where you've been hit, and an autopsy system post-death showing your last 10 hits and which hit was the killing blow, which to me sounds really sick, because sometimes you're like, how did I die then? I died like instantly, but it says like left leg. Well, then you'll be able to find out the information that you might have actually got 2 in the chest before the leg or something like that. And the leg was just that little bit to get you over the line to death. They touch on loot tables. It's being changed all the time and they're not announcing it. The hidden stashes that everyone's been running around to, the caches, whatever you want to call them. They're thinking about randomizing them so they're not always available. Then people can't just do loot runs. He said it was actually quite surprising how quickly everyone found them. But he does really like the idea of the stashes. But they're thinking about doing like some sort of like randomized system, a bit like the buttons on labs where sometimes you can't press them. Sometimes those stashes won't be available to loot. Over to face customization, they have a very large database of faces already like taken and prepared to go into the game, and they will add them at some point. Now, they discussed 2 different DLCs. The first one being Scav Life. That's going to have some sort of karma system, prestige system, and you'll be able to level up your Scav doing certain things for your Scav. So that's going to be one of the DLCs. The other one they touched on, but was very minor, was a DLC called Winter. And with this one, it's going to be like the snow maps or something like that. You'll go into a raid and it'll be all snow and that. But that's pretty much all they touched for the DLC sides of things. When it comes to Steam Audio, that's planned for the start of next year. It's going to be on one of their next major patches. They said there is 2 or 1 major patch coming up. So they either want to do 1 big patch or 2 smaller ones to release the actual content coming up, which will include Steam Audio. They're looking at the Compass, the VoIP, and then going from there. Now, there was the discussion of maps. Because they did say that once 0.12 hits and they're on the new Unity engine, the maps will be able to come out faster. So they said, like in the past, there's been like sometimes map updates every 3 to 6 months, and then sometimes the maps come out in that time. Or now it's at the point where we're getting like 1 map a year, and it feels very slow. Nikita said that Streets of Tarkov is the next map, and it will be out within the next 6 months. It's going to be a very large map with lots of detail, and labs will be located underneath it. It's going to consist of stuff like the bank, hotel, a business center, houses from the Stalin era with semi-modern architecture. It's not going to be like 40-story buildings with like different levels of loot throughout the whole building, but there's going to be like, it's going to be a really in-depth kind of map. So it's got a lot of stuff they need to do on it, and they want to have it looking really schmick, like kind of how Reserve came out when it was released. Obviously, it's not the most optimized map, which is something they'll probably work on. I imagine they will. So it's just that's why Streets of Tarkov is probably going to take up to 6 months. But yeah, they said within the next 6 months. Now the question of wipe, which hasn't really been something that people have been talking about recently. I think it's because most people are pretty happy with having a lot of content on from point 12, but he said it's going to be within the next 3 months. And the reason behind that, and he feels bad for the people, is they're going to need to test significant changes within the hideout, and this will require a wipe. I know for a fact that they're working hard on adding extra features within the hideout and making stuff work between the hideout and the actual game itself. And so that's why these significant changes are actually happening. There is discussion a bit later on about having like a key press in there. And Nikita says he's got like lots of ideas of stuff that he wants to have within the hideout that you can do. And that's the stuff that he's talking about here, where it's going to need a wipe to actually make it work. So unfortunately, the guys that, don't get as much time to play the game and they're working hard on upgrading their hideout, well, potentially by the end of, say, March, we're going to have another wipe and you'll have to start again. Good side of it is every time there's a wipe, more content comes out, player base only grows, and it should be a lot more fun and hopefully, more stuff to do as well. So take it as it comes. I know wipes aren't always the most happiest times for some people, but it's a necessity until the game comes out into 1.0, which they said they're not going to do any more wipes from that point onwards. And that goes up to the point where they spoke about is there going to be wipes post 1.0. He said no, there won't be any wipes, but they're either looking at something like a prestige system, or you'll have a permanent character and then a like seasonal character. So you'll be able to play on either of them, I guess, but there'll be probably maybe different perks for each one. Kind of like a Path of Exile system or a Diablo system, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's still probably fucking years away. So don't stress too much about that side of things, guys. But yeah, something to take note of at least. They spoke about NPCs walking around like civilians and, children and all that kind of stuff. Nikita said no, he wants to focus the game entirely on the aspects of war and being centered on conflict. And it's meant to be like a military game, not like that kind of full RPG where there's like women and children walking around and stuff like that. They did touch on visors and the potential that they will make it so you can clean visors in the future, but it's only an idea. And one of the guests brought up the fact of smoking animations where you could use the Marlboro cigarettes, for example, take a chuff of the cigarette, and then you'll be able to, get like some damage to your chest, but you'll get some like, perks from doing it, like, I don't know, remove a tremor or something. So Nikita thought it was a funny idea, and it's just written down as an idea at the moment. Moving into shooting ballistics, they do want to work on continuing in making it more in depth and more detailed. So there'll be wind direction involved into it, and also the heat of the barrel being hot or cold affecting the flight of the bullet, the shot of the bullet coming out of the barrel. So it's interesting to see how that's all going to fold out. Moving into different events that they're actually thinking about doing as well as like deficit events. So instead of it just being like, hey, this item is now out of stock on the flea market or on the traders, they're actually thinking about making it so it's like an event, like a specific boss comes and takes all the certain items from the game. So then that way you won't be able to get access, say, to a specific ammunition because of a shortage of it, or, and there'll be like a bit of a themed event. Sounds pretty cool. And he said that they can use that kind of stuff to help prolong the longevity of the actual game itself. They could do these kind of events forever, really. They brought up the bank account, saying that you might have the option in the future to deposit your cash from your hideout into a bank account. You'll have like a credit card instead, and then using this credit card to purchase stuff from traders. You don't have to have as much space in your hideout taken up by cash. And then if you do want to take this cash out, you'll need to go somewhere to actually withdraw it. I think that's a pretty cool concept, particularly when you like later in the watch, and some people have lots of like millions and millions of rubles, and you got these stacks everywhere. I think it'd be pretty cool to have it on a credit card, but see how it goes. Very small discussion on a safe zone for players to be able to go meet up to do their trades. I don't know if this is going to be how trading is going to happen eventually, but it's a bit like a social hub where it's like you could kind of go there and, you could shoot someone, but then you'll get like negative karma, or your karma will drop, and you'll lose the ability to use traders because of it. And so you could go shoot people there, but everyone would be able to turn on you. It's like going hostile in World of Warcraft or something like that. and everyone could just kill you from that point onwards. So that's something to take note of. Be pretty cool. See how that all unfolds. Audio life changes. There's going to be new options down the bottom right corner on that bar where it's like the presets and the handbook and that. He didn't go into any detail about that, but he said that at the moment the presets are clunky and it's not how it's meant to work. They did talk about it in a little bit more detail, but there wasn't really much come out of it. Raider Episode 3 is going to be out before Christmas. So we've already seen 1 and 2. Also, the book will be coming out in English for book number 2, and they're working on book number 3. I'll put a link down below if you want to buy the books. You actually do get bonuses from your actual account thing. I don't get any kickbacks for like advertising this shit, but I bought the second book as well as the first. The second book costs like $2, I think American or something. You get like a ammo case or a pistol case or something from it. It's kind of a little handy, I don't know, bonus items at the start of a wipe. But it you know, I want to read them all eventually. So they reiterated that it's not going to be any female PMCs, as well as the riot shields won't be usable via PMCs. He thinks that maybe squads of scavs might be able to use them in Streets of Tarkov, but he doesn't, want PMCs running around with these riot shields. Also, onto graphics cards, they're going to add durability to graphics cards, so they'll eventually get busted in the Bitcoin farm, and you won't be able to use them forever. I think if they're going to go down this path, they should at least be able to make it so you can repair them, because if graphic cards are already as expensive as they are, Bitcoins have already plummeted in value. It's going to get to the point where it's like it's not even worth running a Bitcoin farm. So maybe if you can repair them for some like cheap amount, it's a little bit of a money sink. We'll have to wait and see with that one. Key cards, all the lab key cards are going to have a limited durability on them, and the red key card will have multiple rooms it can unlock, and it's going to be similar to a master key. I don't know why you would waste one of your durabilities on your red key card to open up, say, the yellow key card room, but maybe they're going to have extra special rooms like the red key card room that you can unlock. So we'll have to wait and see with that one. With the day-night cycle of the game, Nikita said the majority of the players only play during daylight hours, and he's got an idea to make that day-night cycle slightly faster to kind of force people to go across to the nighttime cycle a little bit more. But it's still just in the idea phase. But he does like the idea of making it seasonal times of the day. What I mean by that is, say it's the winter time, then obviously the days are shorter then. So, you might only get from, say, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daytime. And then, the rest of the time will be nighttime. And then in summer, it'd be the opposite. You'd get like, from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. daytime, just to mimic kind of seasonal changes of weather and day-night cycles. Eventually, they do want to make it so the T7 thermal can't be put into your gamma. I thought they were going to do this before it was even re-implemented into the game. But I think their fix at the moment has just made it like 12 million rubles or something. So eventually, you won't be able to put it into the gamma. Covering the leaks. Now, the first one was the Injector. This Injector, you're going to be able to make certain different like craft bottles. And each of these craft bottles will have a different perk. And you can equip it to the Injector, and you'll get a bonus from that. No idea what these craft bottles are going to be able to do perks for. It would be cool if you could maybe get, instead of just say +2 to strength for an hour, maybe if they had it like you could inject yourself and get like, I don't know, +10 to passive skill leveling for an hour or something like that. Maybe that would be pretty cool. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with that one. They are discussing the fact of a war belt being added to the game. Now, I don't have a photo of it here. I wish I did. But when I was in the army, I used to use we called them like, I can't remember. I thought we called them sniper belts, but it's effectively just a waist belt with a heap of pouches. There's going to be a new slot where you can actually equip items in the game, like on your character, and you'll be able to put these belts on. And so it'll have an extra few pouches, few slots for you to actually like store stuff. And we loved them when I was in the army, so pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that they're adding them to the game as well. They did show videos of the MP9. There is a .36 TM hunting rifle. They made a joke about who would be the best sniper with this. I think it's going to be a trash item, but it's going to be a bit of a meme fun thing. Like, if I'm not mistaken, it's the exact same as the like the EKO rounds and stuff. It's not going to be able to drop anyone. It's going to be a hard time getting a sniper. If they start a quest line with that, we're all fucked. We're all fucked. Anyway, moving on. Is it Orsis? The Orsis T5000? ORSIS T5000, another sniper rifle coming out. This is a 308 round sniper rifle, which it looks pretty sick. And they also did tease the SR25. So guys, I have tried to talk as fast as I can to get all this information out. It took me, I don't know, this video is probably going to be like half an hour long for me to summarize the 2.5 hours. The cool thing about Nikita actually talking in Russian is he's more like liberally saying stuff because he doesn't have to think about translating it. So the translators have to do the work, and then we're just getting all this information out really quickly. Even just from watching and listening to the translations, Nikita spent most of the time talking compared to everyone else, which is kind of like what we want. And we kind of use the influencers to get that information from them. So I think this is really cool because we got so much information from this one. Generally, when he does the English podcast, he does really well at speaking English. Don't get me wrong, but he spends a lot more time trying to get the point across. Where in Russian, he's just belt feeding this shit out. So my notes is massive for this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching another video. If you did like it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for future content. I do stream on Twitch every day of the week, so go down the link below. Give me a follow over there. You got any Tarkov questions? Feel free to hit me up on my live stream or down in the comments below. And lastly, I'll see you next time. When I was a young warthog. When I was a young warthog.